very good evening to you and welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Here are tonight's main stories.
A bright future, but not yet. The government tells Leeds health chiefs they will get a brand new hospital, but they're on a waiting list.
After months of delays here, now more to come, with building not expected to start until at least 2032.
It was something from a horror film. It was just completely traumatising.
A mother who threw her children from an upstairs window to save them from a fire speaks out as the arsonist who started it is jailed.
The thing that really got to me is just seeing the kids' room. I think just seeing their beds completely burned, that was really, really hard for me. You know, it just shows the extent of the fire and what could have happened. You know, that could have been us into ashes.
Ramazani finishes it and finishes off Sheffield Wednesday.
In sport, Leeds win bragging rights in yesterday's big Yorkshire derby as Wednesday fans show their anger at the club's owner.
He's absolutely clueless. He's ruined our club. We don't want him anymore. He's got to go. Enough's enough.
And over the next few days, we'll be lucky if the weather does much to lift our spirits. It's misty, murky, foggy and rather dull. I've got all the details, though, coming up later in the programme.
First tonight from us, in the last hour, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has confirmed that Leeds will be getting a brand new hospital after months of uncertainty. But it will come a little later than first promised. It
comes after the government announced a review into the previous government's new hospitals programme due to funding concerns. Well, our reporter Amelia Beckett is at the LGI for us tonight. Amelia, just remind us how all this has come about.
Well, Laura, it was back in 2019 when the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson first committed to building 40 new hospitals by 2030. One of those was the LGI. Now, bosses here said that was long overdue. This is one of the oldest estates in the NHS, with some buildings dating back 150 years. Now, that means currently there are entire floors here out of use because of crumbling walls, leaking ceilings and failing electrics. So, of course, bosses were very eager to press on with those plans. But they all came into doubt when the new government took power last year and said that the previous government's plans hadn't been properly costed and so launched a review. Well, today, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, committed to rebuilding those 40 hospitals, but said it won't happen by 2030. Instead, he announced a phased approach, which will take up until at least 2039. Here, it's thought building won't start until at least 2032, which the local MP says, of course, it's welcome that it will be rebuilt, but actually maintenance here urgently needs tackling.
That is obviously disappointing, but we know we will get the hospital. The important thing now is the LGI site's got a big maintenance backlog, and the Secretary of State for Health has said he'll meet with me and the hospital to look at that, to ensure that we can keep children's services there, that we can keep the hospital going until we get that new hospital in the early 2030s.
And Amelia, the LGI wasn't the only hospital in our region on this list, was it?
No, that's right. Airedale Hospital has also been promised a new building. It's thought that that will get that a bit sooner than the LGI because of the discovery of rack, of course, that concrete, which has caused structural issues. So it's thought that construction there could start by 2027 and will cost around £1.5 billion. As for the cost here, well, that's doubled in the previous years. The government says it has committed to what it thinks it will cost. And they're hoping for a brand new building at the LGI, a brand new children's hospital and a brand new maternity unit. We haven't heard from the Trust yet this evening. I'm sure there will be some disappointment because, of course, by 2032, we will be into the next term of Parliament, potentially a new government. And, well, all of this could potentially be thrown into doubt again.
OK, well, thank you very much, Amelia. And a little later on, we will be going back to the LGI to see how surgeons came up with a brand new technique to remove a head tumour, allowing their patient to be back on her feet the very same day.
But next, a mother who had to throw her 2 children out of an upstairs window to save their lives says she can finally feel safe after the arsonist who set fire to her home was jailed.
Ines Heimdan says she and her family were subjected to racist abuse and aggressive behaviour for months before her neighbour set a wheelie bin alight outside her door in Huddersfield.
But her relief came with a warning for councils to take complaints of antisocial behaviour seriously. Helen Steele reports.
It was at the bottom of these stairs that an arsonist set off a deadly blaze. This is Ines Himmerden's bedroom.
This is all the things we bought for the new property.
Oh my God.
Next door was where her 2 young daughters slept as the fire took hold. Almost a year on, Ines has a new home in Huddersfield. All that was left in her old flat were her family's passports.
So you've been back
Since,
haven't you? And what was that like?
that was very traumatic. It was something from a horror film. It was just completely traumatizing. The thing that really got to me is just seeing the kids' room. I think just seeing their beds, that could have been us into ashes.
The fire was started as they slept. She had to throw her daughters out of the upstairs window to escape.
Constant PTSD, remember things all the time, and I think it's something that you can't get over, and it's just affected my physical health as well. So from the stress, I've developed diabetes, and my autistic daughter, she suffered the most. She really struggled in school. The first few months, I remember, she just wasn't eating at all.
Nobody has since moved into their former home on Hillhouse Court.
Well, what happened here back on February the 14th last year was the culmination of months and months of antisocial behaviour. Ines and her family had complained more than 200 times about the men living below them, 42-year-old Martin Kramarski and 53-year-old Raimondas Vayelis. Well, that night, Kramarski had gone out to find a wheelie bin, which he placed up against the wall near Ines's door and set it alight. But in a twist of events, the fire which ripped through the apartment block in fact killed Raimondas, his flatmate.
Kramarski has now been sentenced to 17.5 years in jail. He'd been found guilty of manslaughter, but was found not guilty of the charge of arson with intent to endanger life.
It's good to hear that he's going to be away for a very long time, which is a good thing, and we can feel a bit, safer that he's not going to be on the street. But I think the disappointing bit is the sentence is not for us. We feel a bit robbed in a way.
Ines had complained more than 200 times to Kirklees Council. She sent videos like these of drug taking and Kramarski being cautioned by police.
Do you think this sentence will stop this kind of thing happening again?
I highly doubt it. But we did go to them before all of this happened and begged for them to move us.
Kirklees Council has urged residents to report antisocial behaviour and said tenants' safety is its top priority. Ines, though, says it's only now that her tormentor faces a lengthy prison sentence that she can finally feel safe. Helen Steele, ITV News in Huddersfield.
Alan, you're watching Monday Night's Calendar. Thanks for being with us. Still to come on the programme. Green and Pleasant Land, the project in Barnsley to open up nature to those using wheelchairs.
And it's more of the same over the next few days. Lots of misty, murky weather ahead. More dramatic conditions await us at the end of the week. I'll have the details in the weather in a few minutes.
Well, next, campaigners fighting to keep the post office in Rotherham Town Centre open say that its closure would hit the most vulnerable in the town.
Yes, Rotherham's post office is just one of 115 Crown post offices that could be shut to save money. Martin Fisher has this story.
A busy Monday morning at this post office near Rotherham Town Centre. As a Crown post office, it offers a full range of services, from post to passport applications. But it's under threat and has been earmarked for potential closure.
Not everyone has got those skills to be able to operate in alternative ways, and they just like to see a face. They like to be face to face with someone to be able to explain what it is that they want looking to achieve that day.
Rotherham Borough Council passed a motion last week opposing any potential closure. On the same street, banks have shut, forcing many who don't bank online to use the post office as a replacement.
Lots of banks in Rotherham have closed their branches, and we're finding that more and more people need to deposit and withdraw cash at a post office counter.
And campaigners say the post office is close to both rail and bus stations, meaning those who can't drive can still use it.
I think they've got no understanding of age, if you know what I mean.
You know, normally for some of us immigrants, we come here to do post order, which is the only one that is closer to me.
I think it's disgusting. To be perfectly honest, we've only got this post office in town.
The post office says no final decision has been made and added they were considering a range of initiatives to boost revenue, drive efficiency and reduce costs. Now, this Crown Post Office in the centre of Rotherham is one of the 115 that's under threat, and that's primarily because many are losing money. In recent years, the post office has faced increased competition from other parcels providers, such as Every, and that's meant that the post office has had to rely on government subsidy. High street shops continue to struggle in the town, but many businesses say keeping the post office open means shoppers will come in to use it and then spend with them.
Obviously that person who goes and draws the pension then comes up to me or likes of any other people in the market, and it's old firm, so to speak.
It does put pensioners for the pension and that, usually Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, I mean, it'll really hurt town if it does go.
So uncertainty around the future of this post office, as the changing face of the high street is perhaps set to change again. Martin Fisher, ITV News in Rotherham.
Well, next to the extraordinary medical first carried out by neurosurgeons in West Yorkshire, who have removed a type of head cancer through a patient's eye socket.
Now, in the past, similar tumours have been considered inoperable, but doctors in Leeds developed a groundbreaking new technique which meant that the patient, who's a nurse and a mother of 3, was out of bed and, get this, walking about later the same day. Now, just a word of warning to you, you might find some of the details in Michael Billington's report quite graphic.
You can see the tumour, so this is your tumour here.
This cancerous tissue growing behind Ravimbo Kavir's eye caused her agonising headaches. Before last year, tumours like this one were considered virtually inoperable. Patients that could be operated on faced complex surgery, removing part of the skull and moving the brain. But last February, surgeons in Leeds managed to remove Ravimbo's tumour through her eye socket, the first surgery of its kind in the UK.
It was scary, to be honest, because there is no one who had had it. So what are the chances? I didn't know.
In the past, the only surgical option risked triggering seizures in patients. So medics set about designing a new procedure using 3D models of Ravimbo's skull, brain and the growth itself to prepare for the groundbreaking operation.
Not only we could do a simulated 3D modelling on the software, but actually had a physical model in hand where we could see and envisage what we were going to encounter.
Because we managed to get into the tumour first time, it was done safely, we were checking the eye every 15 minutes, it was pretty sort of onerous on the surgeons. But there was no greater feeling than removing the tumour, seeing it visually and saying, well, we've done a brilliant job.
Incredibly, Ravimbo was back on her feet within hours and back home in just a few days. The reluctant face of a pioneering medical treatment, giving hope to patients who previously feared their cancer may never be cured.
Well, I can't really say I'm proud, but I can say I'm happy because it went well, thanks to the brains behind that.
Michael Billington, ITV News in Leeds.
Congratulations to everyone involved.
Yeah, amazing what can be done these days.
And all the best to Ravimbo. Now then, time for some sport, and there was drama off and on the pitch during yesterday's Yorkshire football derby.
Xero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And Chris is with us in the studio. Some really good news though. ITV football back.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it, yesterday?
We're not used to this, are we?
No, it's about time though, Lara. 23 years, 2002, the last time we had live Football League action. Even Ian was a young man then. For Leeds, it was a day of celebration as they moved back to the top of the Championship. But for Sheffield Wednesday fans, well, it was a chance to vent their frustrations at the running of their club to a nationwide audience. Last week, owner Delphon Chansiri antagonised supporters at a fans forum, and at yesterday's Yorkshire derby, it was his name on fans' lips and on protest flyers as well.
The feeling of anger and vitriol towards Sheffield Wednesday owner Deshwan Chansiri rages on. Ahead of their game with Leeds, 1,000 yellow flyers were handed out at Ellen Road as fans planned a protest as they try and force the Thai businessman to sell the club.
He's absolutely clueless. He's ruined our club. We don't want him anymore. He's got to go. Enough's enough.
See, Chansiri press conference all day was absolute train wreck. Absolutely nothing well said for himself. Slagged off all the players, all the management, all the players. The guy's just an absolute waste of time, and as soon as he's gone, the better for us as well.
With Mr Chansiri watching on in the stands, the fans made their feelings clear. The protest even gained national coverage, as the Yorkshire derby was the first Football League game shown live on ITV for 23 years.
It is the 100th league meeting between these two Yorkshire foes.
The 3,000 travelling support would have wanted the football to be the tonic after a toxic week, but after just 3 minutes, they were behind. The Owls probed and prodded for an equaliser, but couldn't find a way through Leeds. Jan Valery's glancing headed the closest they came. Just a minute after that chance, Leeds doubled their lead.
Ramazani finishes it and finishes off Sheffield Wednesday. It's terrific from Raji Ramazani.
Then, deep into stoppage time, Ao Tanaka's cheeky flick made it 3-0.
Had the nerves beforehand, but yes, we got there in the end. Great goal from Tanaka at the end, so
yeah,
back to winning ways.
The first time I see them win, so it feels so special today.
It's a bit tense at the start and until we got the second goal, but at least we got a win, so ideal.
Great result for Leeds.
Fantastic result. It's never easy in a derby, so you know, form goes out the window a lot of the time, and Leeds done really well today. There's huge expectation on these players to get promoted this season, and you know, they're dealing with it really, really well.
I think there's no doubt that's a well-deserved win, but also in a tight game against a good opponent who has good players, good manager. Like expect a tight game, but I think a well-deserved win and a perfect performance for this day today.
Meanwhile, Sheffield Wednesday legend Chris Waddle gave this warning for Mr Chansiri.
You know, if the chairman here listens to this, you know, go and help him out, because and the thing with Danny Rowe as well is, I mean, he's so popular with the Wednesday fans, and he is a good, very good manager. He's proved that. But you could end up losing him if you don't back him, and he just easily want to finish 10th, 12th in the league.
For Sheffield Wednesday, the divide has never been greater. For Leeds, the bond is as strong as ever. Arif Ahmed, ITV News.
So some disharmony at one Sheffield club, but at the other side of the city, of course, things are going really rather well.
It just makes things worse for Wednesday fans, doesn't it? Sheffield United going so well, second in the Championship, and strengthening their squad as well today. They've confirmed the loan signing of Ben Brayton Diaz from Southampton, with more expected to follow as well. That should only help the Blades in their quest for promotion back to the Premier League. They were top of the Championship until Leeds overtook them yesterday following a 2-0 win over Norwich on Saturday. Fullback Harrison Burrows with both of their goals. OK, dropping down into League One, and there were defeats for Barnsley and Mansfield over the weekend, but Huddersfield came back from 2-0 down to earn a point at Blackpool and extend their unbeaten run to 16 league matches. And prize for the best finish and worst celebration combo goes to Malik Wilkes, who scored Rotherham's fourth in a 4-2 win over Charlton, and then did this.
That's like
okay,
you coming to work.
OK, meanwhile, 4 Carlisle supporters have been arrested for allegedly chanting about the Bradford fire disaster in which 56 people died 40 years ago. Now, the incident happened during Bradford's win at Carlisle on Saturday. Callum Kavanagh scored the only goal of the game as the Bantams made it 5 wins from their last 7 matches. Luke Molyneux scored his 10th of the season as Doncaster won 1-0 at Gillingham in League Two. Chesterfield came from a goal down to draw at Grimsby. Tom Naylor with the equaliser, and 2 own goals gave Harrogate the victory over Cheltenham to move them 8 points clear of the relegation zone. Let's hope it's not another 23 years, until the next live Football League game in our region, at least.
It's all right, Chris, you'll still be around.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think I've got it in me to be another 23 years, to be honest. We'll see. You guys will be, though, I'm sure. You've got the staying power.
We will. Yeah,
We'll
sure
see.
we
We'll see.
will.
Thank you.
Now, it definitely felt a bit nippy yesterday, and Joe will be here with the weather shortly. But we're all being asked to brave the cold and do our little bit for the environment.
Yeah, don't worry though, you don't have to venture far for this year's Big Garden Birdwatch. It's the world's largest annual citizen science wildlife survey. Kevin Ashford has the details.
They're often our closest and most frequent contact with wildlife in this country. And garden birds are also an important indicator of the general state of the environment. Gary Hornby from York is planning on taking part in the Big Garden Birdwatch, which he says gets vital information about one of his passions.
We love birds and we like to see what type of birds do come in the garden. We're always interested, we're always looking out to see what comes in our garden. Birds, butterflies, dragonflies. If it's to do with nature, we like to have a look.
The charity behind the Birdwatch says it gives an important snapshot of the state of different bird populations around the country. There are also benefits for those who take part.
It feeds into a lot of the other sort of scientific work that goes on at the RSPB. It's part of that, putting that whole picture together, and it helps us see how birds are doing. But the other part that's really important is that connection with nature. And it really does make you think about what's living around you and what's living just outside your window. And that connection to nature is so valuable.
Some species, like the goldfinch, have managed to boost their numbers recently. But the overall trend for UK bird populations has been downward for many years. Over the last half a century, numbers have fallen by 16%. Experts say it's a complex situation.
There's lots of different reasons why our bird populations in gardens are declining, and I think it's important to remember the birds we see in the garden are actually often quite common and widespread birds across the whole wider environment. We just happen to be watching them and counting them in our garden. So there's lots of reasons, for example, agricultural change, more habitat fragmentation, there's issues around disease, of course, impacting some species. So many factors.
Organisers say the hour-long bird watching can be done without binoculars, and non-sightings are just as important to report to give the fullest picture possible of the state of our bird populations. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
You like to do it, don't you?
I'll be doing that, definitely, yeah. And apparently it's important that even if you don't see any birds, you still send that information to.
OK, good. Well, finally tonight, and staying on our environmental theme, to plans to transform a piece of wasteland in Barnsley. Matt Price has the details.
A new year, a new project and a fresh appeal for help. If anyone can, Paul and Michael can turn this unused, unloved allotment site into something which will benefit so many.
We have a lot of wheelchair users and a lot of different disabilities, so that's why we've named this the accessible allotments. And it's kind of just sat at the moment as a big piece of land, and we just want to move it forward now and open this side up so we can help more people.
The couple are expanding on their project from last year, the autism allotments. Inspired by their two sons, Levi and Lucas, they transformed this piece of wasteland into a place for children to enjoy. And now they're doing it all again for all disabilities.
We've found, like a lot of parents and carers and residential homes for people with additional needs, are saying that a lot of things have closed down, so like the day centres and stuff. I mean, we've had families coming here that have travelled like 2 hours just to experience the outside gardens.
This land has been cleared, but now the real work begins. Funding and then building a log cabin is at the top of the list.
We need tradespeople to come forward who are in the business of, construction and stuff, to help donate their time and possible materials. We need fencing, we need gravel boards, we need to make it secure again.
The hope is to have this new site open by spring, but what a job they have got on. There are flower beds to build, accessible paths to put in place. The guys are going to need some help and plenty of luck along the way. It has the backing from organisations which work with disabled people. Laura volunteers with a community group in Doncaster and knows there's a real need for this.
One of the big key things is changing places and hoist, and obviously that can all be done here. They can access the park, they can access the swings and all the equipment. Whereas you go to a normal park and there's no hoist or anything and they can't access that then.
Families can come together with their children, with their siblings, everybody. You might have just one person in that family that has a disability, but the whole family network can come together.
They've got the vision and the drive.
Yeah, like outdoor seating areas where wheelchairs can come and sit.
But now need the manpower and the support to make this dream once again a reality. Matt Price, ITV News, Barnsley.
Oh, we wish them all the very best with all of that, of course. And they'll need some good weather if they're going to be doing that work, won't they? Let's find out from Joe Blythe what the forecast has in store.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire weather.
Thank you. Very good evening to you. More misty, murky weather ahead over the next couple of days or so, with fog reforming again overnight tonight for many of us. The chilly, damp theme continues, with sunshine at a bit of a premium over the next couple of days. And to end the week, some really unsettled weather ahead, becoming increasingly windy Friday night into Saturday. The next 24 hours on the pressure sequence, we can see a trailing front across the north of England, which will generate lots of low cloud and bits and pieces of patchy rain and drizzle, particularly for North and West Yorkshire during tomorrow. For most of us, though, as we head through into this evening and overnight, low cloud reforms, a few fog patches, and these outbreaks of showery rain begin to migrate southwards and eastwards by the end of the night. A little drier behind it, but a chilly night to come, 2 or 3 Celsius the overnight low, a few breaks in the cloud here and there, and winds falling light across the region. On to tomorrow. The sun will be up at 8:10 and it sets at 4:26 tomorrow afternoon. For most of us then, tomorrow, a really dreary start to the day with hill fog for the Pennines, bits and pieces of showery rain and drizzle from the word go there. Winds light to moderate. The best chance of any brightness will be further south across Lincolnshire through the afternoon. We'll hold on to cloud and rain, generally light and patchy for North and West Yorkshire through much of tomorrow. Another chilly feel to the day, though, 5 or 6 Celsius for many places. And looking ahead to the next few days, lots of cloud around, more of the same really. It's misty and murky and feeling rather chilly and dreary and dull. Temperatures are on the up significantly by the weekend, but it does mean we are looking at some very unsettled and windy weather from Friday into Saturday. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire weather.
Better make the most of this week then.
Oh no, and it's a special week. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you very much. We weren't going to mention that tonight, but anyway.
Well, you said it on Twitter, on X.
I did. And we had a cup of tea, didn't we, to celebrate?
We did, yeah.
Thanks for watching. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.